OCN Volume 25 Number 12, December 6, 2025. This podcast presents the audio versions of the articles and columns in this issue of OCN in the order they appeared in the paper. For details, please refer to the articles and columns, which are posted at ocn.me. Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, November 13th and 18th, Schedule for Annexation Elections Undecided, Board Vacancy Unfilled. By James Howell and Jackie Burr-Hans. The Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, PLBOT, held just one regular board meeting last month, on November 13th. It considered resolutions to set the dates for annexation elections for the Red Rocks Acres property and the Bucky's property, deciding in both cases to take no action until its next meeting on December 11th. Two resolutions to set the title and ballot language for those annexations were also continued until December. The board debated a draft of an ordinance written by Town Attorney Scott Krob that would amend the town's municipal code regarding annexation elections. Andy Kovacs, chief of the Monument Fire District, MFD, gave a presentation about MFD and discussed how it and the Palmer Lake Fire Department, PLFD, might merge. A public hearing was held on amending the 2025 budget, and the proposed 2026 budget was reviewed. The board also discussed how to fill the vacancy on the board created by Amy Hudson's resignation. On November 18th, the board held a workshop to interview two applicants for the board vacancy, John Marble and Bill Bass. Following that workshop, a special session was held to appoint one of the two applicants to the board. During that special session, the board could not decide between Marble and Bass and decided to reopen the nomination process. Annexation elections continued. Krob told the board that Resolution 65/2025 scheduled the annexation election for the Red Rocks Acres property for February 3rd. Trustee Beth Harris questioned the point of setting the annexation election date before the Plan Development Plan, PDP, and other documents were complete. She argued that the annexation election should be held after the Planning Commission makes a recommendation and the PLBOT accepts the PDP, the annexation agreement, and the zoning. Then, she argued, the electors decide only on the annexation. Trustee 8S Jerka agreed it was premature to set the election date for the Red Rocks Acres property. Trustee Roger Mosley objected to proceeding with the Red Rocks annexation, and Krob asked for a brief recess to confer with Mosley. Following the recess, Krob said he had confirmed that Mosley owns property adjacent to the Red Rocks Acres property and has a conflict of interest. Mosley should not participate in the Red Rocks discussion, Krob said. Harris moved to continue the decision about the election date until the Planning Commission makes a recommendation about the annexation. Mayor Dennis Stern said having the annexation elections for the Red Rocks Acres property and the Bucky's property on February 3rd would consolidate election costs. Harris and Jerka voted in favor of the motion. Stern voted no and Mosley abstained. Trustees Mike Boyett and Tim Caves were not present. The motion passed, and no date was set for the Red Rocks Acres annexation. The board also voted to continue the resolution to set the title and ballot language for the annexation until the December 11th board meeting. Harris, Jerka, and Stern voted yes, Mosley abstained. The motion passed. The board dealt the same way with a pair of similar resolutions regarding the Bucky's annexation, continuing the question of the date for the election and the wording for the ballot until its December 11th board meeting. Board leaves rules for annexation elections unchanged. Krob wrote a memo to the board outlining his recommendations for resolving four issues regarding annexation elections left unclear by the recently passed ballot initiative requiring all annexations to go before the voters. Krob's memo addressed at what point in the annexation process the annexation election should be held, when it should be scheduled, who pays for the annexation election, and who writes the language that appears on the ballot. Krob's memo recommended that the annexation election take place late in the annexation process, after the board and the applicant have negotiated an annexation agreement, and the PLBOT has approved the zoning, including a recommendation by the Planning Commission, and the sketch plan. He recommended that the annexation election be scheduled 180 days from the date of the resolution setting the election, and that the applicant pay all costs and write the first draft of the ballot language. The board should reserve the right to revise the language proposed by the applicant, Krob said. The memo included Krob's conclusion that the applicant has the right to insist that an annexation election be held in all cases. A draft of an ordinance based on these recommendations was included as an exhibit to the memo. Mosley said the material Krob included in the packet was incomplete and confusing, and the board was not prepared to discuss the proposed ordinance. He argued it was clear that the annexation election was the final step in the annexation process, and there was no need for Krob's ordinance to amend the town's code. Jerka agreed the ballot initiative indicated the annexation election was to be last voice in the annexation process and said he found the proposed ordinance confusing. Mosley argued the board was obligated to look at eligibility, but after that we have no responsibility, and that Krob's recommendations forced the town to spend money when the board could make the decision on its own. Krob answered that would open the town to a lawsuit brought by a disappointed applicant for annexation. Jerka disagreed with Krob's recommendation that the applicant pay for the election, arguing that might look like the applicant has undue influence. Mosley challenged Krob's recommendation that the applicant write the ballot language while the board retains the right to revise it. He argued zoning decisions were quasi-judicial and the public cannot vote on them. Krob disagreed with Mosley's conclusion and cited a court precedent making zoning decisions legislative. Krob said the precedent was being reviewed. Mosley moved to reject the proposed ordinance and leave the town's code unchanged. The motion passed with only Stern voting no. Fire Department merger debated. Interim Town Administrator Glenn Smith introduced the topic of the two fire districts merging, saying the town needed a sustainable option. Smith said a workshop on the potential merger had been held on November 10. Kovacs said fire departments were extensions of the community, and Palmer Lake traditions such as the lighting of the Palmer Lake Star and the Chili Supper would continue if the departments merged. He pointed out that MFD is not affiliated with the town of Monument. MFD serves an area much larger than the town. MFD has a staff of 80, Kovacs said, with 23 firefighters on duty at all times, covering an area of 62 square miles from 5 fire stations. It handles around 4,000 calls per year. MFD has 3 ambulances and is purchasing a new snowcat, Kovacs said. Kovacs mentioned these benefits to Palmer Lake if the departments merged. Lower cost of homeowners insurance due to MFD's lower ISO rating. Better fire mitigation. Economies of scale achieved by reducing duplication of effort. Improved access to ambulances with advanced life support systems. Kovacs mentioned the possibility of building a new fire station in Palmer Lake, saying that would need some analysis. Jerka asked Kovacs if MFD deployed to fires in other areas. Kovacs said yes, adding that deployments do not reduce the number of firefighters on duty, so there is no reduction in service when staff is deployed. Harris said many had complaints about the Mount Herman burn. Kovacs pointed out that the U.S. Forest Service took the lead on that project, adding the forest was healthier today than before the burn. Harris also asked how calls from the east side of the railroad tracks would be handled. Kovacs said MFD has a station on the east side of I-25 that could provide service when there was a delay due to a train. In response to a question from Harris about costs, Kovacs said MFD was currently collecting $18.4 million to fund its operations. Palmer Lake residents currently pay $10 million to fund PLFD. Kovacs said a stepped approach to get from $10 to $18.4 million might be possible. Mosley said Palmer Lake residents pay $10 million for the fire department, but more fire department funding comes from the general fund. In terms of staffing, Kovacs said MFD does not currently have volunteer firefighters as PLFD does. PLFD's volunteers could go into the mitigation program should the departments merge. Stern pointed out that the current situation is not sustainable, and the problem of servicing calls from east of the railroad tracks already exists. He said a mill levy increase would be needed from Palmer Lake residents even if the departments remain separate. Resident Rich Kuster, who has served as Palmer Lake Fire Chief and as a trustee, and has always advocated for the PLFD, said Palmer Lake's volunteer firefighters did not join the department to run a chipper. He asked Kovacs about MFD's debt. Kovacs said MFD's only debt is for the construction of a new fire station, and the MFD budget is posted on the district's website. Kuster ended his remarks by pointing out that the current PLFD firefighters know the town and that knowledge will be lost. "We will lose the glue that holds the town together," he said. Kovacs commented on the merger between MFD and the Donald Westcott Fire Protection District, DWFPD, which served the Gleneagle community. He said Gleneagle likes the service they get from the merged department. Mark Gunderman, the president of the MFD board, said he had been the president of the DWFPD board before that district merged with MFD. He felt the challenges with the proposed merger with PLFD presented the same challenges. He said DWFPD residents were paying $21.9 million before the merger. Resident Denage Ferguson asked what would happen to the 10 mills Palmer Lake residents currently pay should the merger proceed. Stern said in addition to the 10 mills another $800,000 was coming out of the general fund to support PLFD. The 10 mills would not go back to the general fund, according to Stern. Much later in the meeting, Stern said he had been remiss in not discussing direction to the staff regarding the possibility of merging the departments. Town Clerk Erica Romero said her understanding was to continue to explore the possibility. Mosley asked Romero to investigate MFD's position on the best location for a new fire station. Palmer Lake Fire Chief John Vincent said he had received 200 questions about the proposed merger. He pointed out that MFD had done district-to-district mergers, but not a municipality-to-district merger. He said he would discuss the issue with Kovacs and report to the board by April. Stern said that without a commitment from MFD to provide a new fire station, he would not support the merger. 2025 and 2026 budgets considered. Stern opened a public hearing on the 2025 budget. Smith explained the amendments to the 2025 budget came out of budget workshops the board held earlier in the month. In a memo included in the board packet, Smith noted, some design and all construction costs for Spruce Mountain Road were moved to the 2026 budget. Design costs for the Highway 105 sidewalk project were moved to the 2026 budget. Fire deployments revenues and expenditures were higher than expected. Development cost land use reimbursements were originally unbudgeted. Wood chipper costs were added because a grant was denied. The fund balance total was amended. Mosley said he would only approve the amended budget on the condition that the staff commit to tracking how the town reimburses contractors such as GMS Engineering Incorporated by the end of the year. Romero said reimbursements were being tracked. The public hearing was closed without a vote being taken on the amended budget. During the public hearing on the 2026 budget, Smith said the board had until the December meeting to ask questions. Resident Jane Garabrandt said only $275,000 was taken from the general fund to subsidize the fire department, not $800,000 as was stated earlier in the meeting. Smith said he would provide a memo regarding the 2026 budget to the board before its December meeting. The meeting proceeded without the budget hearing being formally closed. 2 candidates for board vacancy. At the November 13 meeting, Romero told the board 2 applications to fill the vacant seat on the board had been received. The board asked Romero to find a date when the candidates could be interviewed and a vote taken to appoint Hudson's successor. A workshop and a special session were scheduled for November 18. Executive sessions. The November 13 board meeting was preceded by an executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters related to the recruitment process and qualifications for the position of town administrator, and to meet with the recruitment firm Strategic Government Resources, SGR, assisting the town in that process. It was followed by a second executive session to develop negotiating strategies regarding Lakeview Heights. No action was taken following the executive sessions. Board interviews applicants for board vacancy, fails to decide. The board interviewed John Marble and Bill Bass to fill its vacant seat. Both candidates could make an opening statement and then were asked the same set of questions. What are the important issues the board must address? What is their experience? How would they decide an issue if the information was incomplete? How would they handle disagreements between board members? Had they read the town's master plan? Why had they applied? What would they do if they were accused of collusion? How would they balance corporate development and the master plan? How would they ensure town residents are heard? How would they make budget decisions? What is their understanding of Colorado's sunshine laws? How would they handle ex parte communications and accusations on social media? How would they get up to speed and collaborate with staff? Marble chose not to make an opening statement. He emphasized his desire to bring new perspectives and a youthful point of view to the board in his answers. He listed infighting, road maintenance, and supporting small businesses as the most important issues before the board. He said he was working on a degree in political science and writing a dissertation on Colorado's sunshine laws. In Bass's opening statement, he pointed to his previous term as mayor starting in 2022. He said the town has been through a lot, has suffered, and is divided. The Buc-ee's annexation has brought national attention to the town, he said, and he wants that to change. He said he worked hard to make citizens feel welcome and heard when he was mayor. In his answers, Bass frequently drew on his experiences as mayor. He said healing the divisiveness would be a priority in the first year, and lack of revenue was a crucial issue. In his concluding statement, Bass said he loved the town, had its best interests in mind and would love to serve. Following the work session, the board held a special meeting to appoint one of the two candidates to the vacant seat. Harris nominated Marble. The nomination failed with a tie vote, with Harris, Jerka, and Mosley voting yeas and Boyett, Caves, and Stern voting no. Stern then nominated Bass. That nomination also failed with a tie vote, this time with Boyett, Caves, and Stern voting yes and Harris, Jerka, and Mosley voting no. After the two failed nominations, Mosley asked for a 5-minute recess to confer privately with Stern. This request was decried by some present as not transparent. When Mosley and Stern returned, Mosley said he hoped an appointment could be made before the deadline when an expensive special election would be required, but he could not reach a decision tonight because of his history with Bass. Mosley said he had made a request of Bass when Bass was mayor that had been ignored. He said he did not want this issue to hang over the town, and wished there were more candidates to consider. Bass responded that he remembered Mosley's request and had made Mosley's concerns known to town staff at the time. Bass said he could not act unilaterally on Mosley's request. Mosley insisted on one more special meeting on the vacancy. After more discussion by the board and comments from the public, the board voted to reopen the application process until December 1st, with Harris and Stern voting no and Boyett, Caves, Jerka, and Mosley voting yes. The next regular meeting is scheduled for December 11th. See the town's website at www.townofpalmerlake.com to confirm times and dates of board meetings and workshops. Meetings are typically held on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month at the town hall. Information: 719-481-2953. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Monument Planning Commission, November 13th. Commission recommends controversial 158-home Conexus development and commercial PUD. By Janet Sellers. At its regular meeting November 13th, the Monument Planning Commission, MPC, recommended approval of the final planned unit development, PUD, and final plat for Conexus filing number 4, advancing a 158-home residential project proposed by Meritage Homes. The Commission also unanimously recommended for approval the final PUD for the Terrazzo Baja commercial subdivision, setting conditions on outdoor storage to maintain visual quality standards. 158 single-family homes planned on 23 acres near Old Denver Road. Meritage Homes, represented by Director of Entitlements Chelsea Green, presented plans to replat 23 acres, Lot 2 of the Conexus development, into a medium-density neighborhood with detached homes priced in the high $400,000s to low $500,000s. Homes will range from about 1,500 to 1,900 square feet, feature energy-efficient construction, 2-car garages, basements or crawl spaces, and dark sky-compliant lighting. Meritage, a national builder that closed nearly 14,000 homes in 2024, emphasized its focus on entry-level and move-down buyers in Monument, offering production spec homes built before purchase with 60-day closings to compete with resale properties. Landscaping will feature drought-tolerant front yards and limit backyard sod to 200 square feet per home. Water use is capped at 0.25 acre-feet per lot. Design features: open space, parks, trail access, and parking. Andrea Barlow of NES noted the plan meets the approved preliminary PUD density of 6.89 units per acre and reduces the allowed building height from 50 to 32 feet. The neighborhood will include 3 access points from the realigned Old Denver Road, to be renamed Crossfield Drive, 3.1 acres of internal open space, pocket parks, seating areas, a playground, and direct connections to the Santa Fe Regional Trail. The plan includes 45 off-street guest parking spaces and 2 driveway spaces for each home. Architectural variety will be ensured through multiple floor plans and elevation styles, with covenants preventing adjacent homes from repeating designs. Traffic, drainage, and infrastructure confirmed adequate. Town staff confirmed that engineering studies found the drainage plan adequate, with no adverse impacts on neighboring properties. A traffic memorandum based on the original Traffic Impact Study, TS, concluded that the reduced 158-unit proposal falls within previously approved capacity assumptions. Jacobs Engineering, the town's independent consultant, validated both reports. Commissioners asked detailed questions about roadway capacity, school traffic, trail connectivity, mailbox placement, driveway depth, setbacks, and on-street parking. Staff reiterated that larger traffic volumes were already anticipated in the master plan, and that new studies would be required only if future phases exceed approved assumptions. In response to concerns about internal trail width, the commissioners voted to require connector trails to be 6 feet wide and paved. Concerns raised, but no legal grounds for denial. 2 commissioners voiced concern about building 158 homes on 23 acres, citing potential strain on traffic, open space, and neighborhood character. Questions were also raised about maintaining visual quality standards and ensuring that future development remains consistent with Monument's long-term planning goals. Commissioner Green remarked, "We cannot vote based on price. But a $500,000 home on a 3,000 square foot lot does not seem right to me. I blame our PUD ordinance." She voted yes, citing no legal reason to deny approval. Commissioner Trujillo also voted in favor but cautioned that residents may be dissatisfied with traffic and density impacts long-term. The motion to recommend approval passed 7-0. The MPC also discussed amending ordinances, focusing on clarifying land use code enforcement language, penalties, and administrative procedures. The Commission recommended approval of an amendment to make enforcement consistent with the municipal code. Terrazzo Baja Commercial PUD gets green light with height limit on outdoor storage. The Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval the final PUD for Lot 2 in the Terrazzo Baja Commercial Subdivision, a 10.3-acre commercial project northeast of Baptist Road and Old Denver Road. Applicant Jason Arwine, representing Proterra Properties, presented plans for 6 commercial buildings totaling up to 31,500 square feet of possible retail space and light industrial uses. The development will serve as incubator space for small businesses rather than heavy industrial operations. The staff confirmed compliance with drainage, access, circulation, screening, and design standards, and recommended approval. Commissioners voiced concerns about potential unsightly outdoor storage, blocking views, or affecting nearby trail users. After the discussion, the developer agreed to a condition limiting outdoor storage height to 20 feet, behind buildings 1 and 2 only. Screening will include a 6-foot opaque fence, landscaping, and trees spaced every 25 feet. Upcoming planning priorities. The staff announced work for 2026, including rewriting the Land Development Code and updating the town's comprehensive plan. Recruitment continues for 2 alternate commissioner positions and 1 full commission seat. Commissioners Green and Daniel Ours will step down at year-end, with a farewell reception planned. The Commission advises the Town Council on land use and development issues. The Commission's recommendations are based on local and state laws, zoning, and municipal codes. The Planning Commission usually meets on the 2nd Wednesday of each month. The next meeting is scheduled for December 10th. For further information on Commission meetings, please visit www.townofmonument.org/263/Planning Commission Commission Board of Adjustment or contact 719-884-8028. A recording with a transcript of each meeting is also available. Janet Sellers can be reached at janetsellers@ocn.me. Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education, November 17, reports on CIC and safety and security. By Harriet Halbig. On November 17, the Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education received reports on progress at the Career and Innovation Center, CIC, and Priority 1 of the district's strategic plan dealing with safe and healthy schools. Career and Innovation Center Update. Director of Innovative Programs Amy Ciankowski reported on developments at the Career and Innovation Center, CIC. The CIC is now participating in a county-wide group called Innovate Pikes Peak, which involves a number of schools in the area. CIC will offer access to its engineering and advanced manufacturing programs to students from participating schools. A new course in robotics and engineering is being developed as part of the engineering pathway. It may be offered next year, depending on student interest. The course will cover the history and use of robots and automation in industry. Health science pathways are being developed at district high schools in preparation for being offered at the CIC campus. At Lewis Palmer High School, 122 students are enrolled in 1 or more biomedical courses. These include Principles of Biomedical Science 1 and 2, Biomedical Innovation 1 and 2, Medical Interventions 1 and 2, and Human Body Systems 1 and 2. At Palmer Ridge High School, 104 students are enrolled in one or more pathway classes including Introduction to Health Science 1 and 2 and Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2. Students in engineering and advanced manufacturing are completing electronics designs and taking part in design reviews with industry professionals. These individual projects are supported by Eagle Circuit, a Texas company that is providing blank circuit boards and donating production time. Eagle is also supporting programs at Drexel University and the University of Texas at Dallas. This is the first program of its kind in the state. Students in aerospace engineering visited Challenger Learning Center, where they launched rockets and tested custom-designed gliders. They will next learn about propulsion systems. The center advocates for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math careers. It offers simulations of space flight and promotes teamwork. Director of Planning, Facilities and Grounds Melissa Andrews reported on progress in development of the CIC building. The electrical design of the building is based on new welding equipment funded through a grant. The grant was delayed, resulting in a delay of the purchase of the equipment. Andrews reported that, although there is adequate electricity in the building, some changes will be made regarding the location of breakers. In the interim, a generator is being provided for the use of the robotics team. To be completed are observations related to the commissioning of the facility. A commissioning agent is hired to test all large systems such as HVAC to make sure everything is in working order to close out the building permit. Non-construction will provide updates to the electrical system under architect/engineer instruction and will create the ownership and maintenance manual for the building. Following final testing, it is hoped that the building can be commissioned in early December. An additional development at the CIC campus is a coffee and snack bar operated by Transitions Program students called Training Grounds. Board President Tiffany Upchurch asked whether it would be possible to offer additional extracurricular activities at CIC, such as JROTC. CN Koski responded that such activities, as well as DECA, Distributive Education Clubs of America, are being considered, but now the emphasis is on programs currently being offered and those planned, such as in the health sciences. IT and cybersecurity will be new courses in the near future. Skills USA Careers in Construction is another group that is being researched. CN Koski also said that CIC is investigating the benefits of being located in an enterprise zone, which offers tax advantages to those individuals and businesses who donate to the center. Board Treasurer Ron Schwartz asked that future reports include information on the continuum of programs development. Board Secretary Dr. Patty Shank also requested including information about grants which have been received and are being sought. Palmer Ridge Senior Representative Gavin Schmidt said that he had participated in robotics and is interested in the aerospace program. Palmer Ridge Representative Roxy Palmer agreed that CIC provides an enormous opportunity for district students. Safety and Security Update. Executive Director of Student Services Rick Frampton and Director of Safety and Security Dennis Coates reported on developments in Strategic Priority 1, Safe, Healthy and Welcoming Schools. Frampton said that the Cell Phone Task Force held its first meeting in October to evaluate the effects of cell phone use by students and staff. A second meeting was scheduled for late November, and it is hoped that a policy on the subject will be presented to the board in March. Training in connection with youth mental health first aid was completed. This national program, advocated by Ascent Church and Monument, offers training in recognizing signs of mental distress that may lead to suicide. There are teen and adult training programs available. 185 individuals are currently certified in the area. Ascent Church was recognized by the board earlier in the meeting for its contributions in this area and fundraising from its Hope 5K runs, which have raised over $220,000. Social worker Amber Newberry offered training to teachers on teaching about personal boundaries. This teaching was initially for middle and high school students, with a program for 6th graders under development. Threat and risk assessment training was also completed. The Safe to Tell and Gaggle programs, which offer anonymous reporting of concerns, continue to be available. Frampton said that the majority of Gaggle reports this year have been school security concerns. Many of students' entries on Gaggle were part of research for a health class on suicide prevention, Frampton said. A curriculum about vape prevention is being developed. The program is designed to stress the fact that vaping and smoking are unhealthy. Instead of automatically suspending students, the option of education is offered. The goal is for administrators to be able to determine the consequences on an individual basis. Asked whether vape detectors may be added in the district, Frampton responded that it is impractical at this time because there are no resources that could respond quickly to individuals. It is possible that testing may be done in the new year. Superintendent Amber Wetstein said that she has spoken with representatives of districts who have detectors. Incidence in D38 is rare. Frampton also addressed the results of student surveys over the past 3 years regarding whether they feel safe at school and whether they feel like part of a community. Results are improving over time. Coates explained that school resource officers are uniformed members of the sheriff's office. The district has a large team of individuals who are retired law enforcement and military personnel. Campus security supervisors are generally stationed at the front desk to screen individuals entering buildings. Blueprints for architectural changes to improve security at Prairie Winds Elementary have been received. Upgrades in cameras and audio enhancement have been in progress for 3 years. Most have been funded by grants. Coates reported that due to these upgrades, he or other security personnel can put a school on lockdown remotely. Coates said that teachers each have a button on their lapel that allows them to report an emergency. A new card access system allows Coates to cut off or restrict access to individuals much faster. Some buildings already have the system, and it is hoped to be district-wide soon. Wetstein offered to have an executive session so that the board may be informed in detail about security precautions. The board discussed a number of changes in district policy. Most were minor. To view these policies, please see Board Docs under the Board of Education tab in lewispalmer.org. Board recognitions. The board recognized Palmer Ridge High School sophomore Samuel Yount on completing his Eagle Scout project of creating a community garden and upgrading the outdoor learning area at Prairie Winds Elementary School. He raised over $3,000 for materials for his project. The board recognized the Ascent Church and Youth Mental Health First Aid for their contributions to the well-being of youth in the area. Led Pastor Brian Pettick, Student Director Jake Hotsfield and Pastor of Discipleship and Missions Joel Geen were present. The church recently donated $2,500 to the district from this year's Run for Hope. Mental Health First Aid Colorado also contributed $4,500 to fund materials for the training of staff in mental health first aid. The board recognized departing board members Vice President Chris Norris, who has served since 2023, and President Tiffany Upchurch, who has served since 2017. Both were thanked for their efforts on behalf of the district. Upchurch received a book with photos from her tenure and comments from district constituents. Financial planning and analysis. Chief Business Officer Brett Ridgway gave a brief report on financial matters. Ridgway's report included the October count of students, which totaled 6,197.9 full-time students, down from the forecast 6,324. Ridgway acknowledged that there is a nationwide decline in birth rates. Due to the high cost of housing in the area, most incoming families have children in secondary school. Ridgway reported that the district is monitoring the number of students who come in from other districts, those who stay in the district but change schools, and those who leave the district for other nearby districts. Wetstein commented that district administrators ask incoming students why they chose to be in District 38, and why some chose online or college courses. The Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education meets at 6 p.m. on the third Monday of the month in the Bauman Learning Center, 146 Jefferson Street. The next meeting will be on December 15th. For information, contact VWOOD@lewispalmer.org. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. November 4th election. El Paso County Commissioner, Dist 5. Lauren Nelson 70.38% elected. Vicki Tompkins 29.62%. Academy District 20. Holly Tripp 18.19% elected. Renee Malloy Ludlam 14.46%. Brandon Clark 15.12%. Susan Payne 17.52% elected. Eddie Waldrep 17.33% elected. Jennifer Stites 13.41%. Cynthia Halverson 3.96%. Lewis Palmer District 38, Dist 1. Tim Bennett 100%. Lewis Palmer District 38 Dist 3. Ginger Schaaf 61.14% elected. Jackie Burr-Hans 38.86%. Monument Town Council, October 29 and November 3 and 17. Council agrees to incentives for major plant. By Marlene Brown. It was a busy month for the Monument Town Council, MTC, which actually began October 29 with a special meeting for the discussion of an economic incentive proposal for ACO Engineered Systems Incorporated, a major manufacturing plant expected to come to Monument. Jennifer Phillips, finance director for the town, explained that the staff has been working with the state of Colorado, El Paso County, the Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber of Commerce of Colorado Springs for the past 5 months, and the deadline for submitting a letter of commitment to the state was October 31. Phillips explained that the letter would break down the incentives, which include the state providing matching funds over the next 10 years. Incentive components would include a property tax rebate totaling about $243,000 over 9 years and a use tax rebate estimated at $210,000 for years 2026 to 27. All rebates would be based on actual taxes collected in 2026 to 27. The state must approve the incentive package first since it would be providing matching funds. ACO will then review and decide whether it accepts the proposal and comes to Monument. Peoria, Arizona, has also offered a substantial incentive package. ACO would be a major employer in the area, with incentives, training, and careers available. It is expected to bring significant economic growth and increased tax revenue for decades to come. MTC's concerns included balancing growth and job creation with financial strain and setting a precedent for future incentive packages. The council members were cautious about long-term implications for Monument's growth and economic policy. The council agreed to sign the letter of commitment. As of late November, ACO had not announced its final decision on where to locate the new fabrication plant. Veterans recognized. The November 3 regular town council meeting started with the acknowledgement of Veterans Day November 11. The town of Monument has over 20 employees who are veterans, with over 215 years of combined military service. Several high school students were in the audience as an assignment from their civics teacher. Draft 2026 budget discussed. Phillips presented the draft 2026 budget. Sales tax revenue is down 11% in 2025 from 2024. Property tax totals assume a 2% to 5% increase over 2025. Revenue options include a property tax increase. Now capped at 5.0 mils, property taxes could increase to 5.78 mils, which would increase revenue by $208,000. Another option is to reinstate a 5% water utility franchisee fee that would increase annual revenue by $138,400. Another fee study to be considered for additional revenue in 2026 is paid parking at Monument Lake. Reduced expenses for the several departments were explained. There will be a new capital improvement plan, CIP. Staff will work to prioritize projects and develop realistic budgets for each department. The budget documents can be found and reviewed on the Town of Monument's website, https://townofmonument.org/document-center. The next steps for the council are to provide direction regarding revenue and expenses and continue working with the Citizen Service Level Advisory Committee. Then the Finance Department would present the final draft 2026 budget to the council at the November 17 meeting and then adopt the 2026 budget at the December 1 meeting. Sign ordinance amended. The Planning Department requested Amendment 18.06.250.a.5 from the Town of Monument's Municipal Code governing signs to be amended to include encroachment permits such as public right-of-way or unauthorized locations. The proposed legacy at Jackson Landing will request signs at Blevins Buckle Trail and Jackson Creek Parkway. A motion to approve the amendment passed 7-0. Legacy at Jackson Landing. A public hearing was held for Legacy at Jackson Landing, located on 30 acres at the northeast corner of I-25 and Baptist Road. Ordinance Number 20/2025, approval of the preliminary planned unit development and the final planned unit development for Legacy at Jackson Landing Phase 1, passed unanimously 7-0. Groundbreaking is scheduled for March 2026 for Phase 1. 2 police officers sworn in. At the November 17 regular meeting, 2 new police officers, Officers Sean Connell and Carlos Gillian, were sworn in. 2026 budget approved. Phillips presented the final draft budget. Revenue options include a property tax mill levy increase from 5.0 mils to 5.78 mils, which should increase revenue for the town by $208,000 per year. A water utility franchise fee reinstatement should be done in 2 weeks and reflect on residents' water bills for 2026. Sales tax revenue is projected to be the same. The discount for timely filing of monthly sales taxes collected will be discontinued at the state level, and most of the towns in Colorado have followed the state guidelines. The proposed budget document is 100 pages and can be found on the Town of Monument website, https://townofmonument.org/document-center. Adoption of the 2026-28 Strategic Plan and Objectives was approved by the Council in a 6-0 vote. Employee Handbook Revisions. Laura Trujillo presented updates to the Employee Handbook. The updates will include any amendments, such as guidance on the use of IT on personal computers and phones. There will be training available for the supervisors and department heads to continue educating their employees on the use of IT. The handbook will be on work computers for reference on the proper use of information. Water main contract awarded. Resolution number 64/2025, awarding a construction contract to Capital Paving and Construction LLC for the Beacon Light Road water main placement, was approved 6-0. The council moved into an executive session, and the meeting was adjourned. Regular meetings are typically held on the first and third Mondays of each month at 6:30 p.m. at the Town Hall, located at 645 Beacon Light Road, Monument. If the meeting falls on a holiday, it will be held the following Tuesday. Marlene Brown can be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Monument Academy School Board, November 13. Board hears audit, marketing updates. By Jackie Burr-Hans. The Monument Academy, MA, School Board met on November 13 to hear about its financial audit and a marketing update, spotlight its parent-teacher organizations, PTO, and revise policies. Financial Audit. Finance Director Laura Poland introduced Jesse Seibert, an audit manager with Holting & Company, who reviewed MA's 2024-25 fiscal year audit. Seibert said that the firm has given MA an unmodified or clean opinion again this year. She noted that the work had begun in August with Poland and Interim Chief Financial Officer Glenn Gustafson providing the necessary items, which ensured a smooth process. The audit has two formats: government-wide and fund statements, which include capital assets and long-term debt, as well as statements reflecting the day-to-day operations of the school. Seibert noted that the report compares the net position year-on-year, highlighting an increase in cash investments of $2.1 million and an increase in capital assets. She also noted a $32 million loan balance and $937,000 paid in debt services. The school's share of $14.9 million unfunded Public Employees Retirement Association, PERA, liability had decreased by $1.3 million, she said. Overall, there was a $3.1 million increase in MA's net position. A prior period adjustment of $481,250 for unreported capital assets net of depreciation, the value of a company's long-term tangible assets after subtracting accumulated depreciation, and $550,000 unreported debt was made related to the new building. MA also implemented GASB 101 as required and restated its absence liability based on what was earned by employees. These changes affected the government-wide statements rather than the budget or day-to-day finances. Looking at the general fund balance, Seifert said that the percentage of fund balance to expenditures went from 22% to 39%, resulting in an increase in days of cash on hand from 80 to 140. She noted that charter schools generally maintain 90 to 120 days cash on hand. Revenue increased by 14% due to donations and increased state per pupil revenue, and expenses increased by 12% leading to $2.9 million increase in the fund balance, which was larger than the budgeted increase. Seibert ended by saying that Holting had found no internal control deficiencies again this year. Update on marketing. Executive Director Colin Vinchattel updated the board on marketing projects by Inkema Marketing, the firm they contracted with in September 2025. He noted that Inkema was close to refreshing the website with a new homepage, pages for each campus, and a revamped enrollment page. There will also be a rewards and recognition section for teachers and students. There are also Google Ads, Facebook, and Instagram accounts ready to launch, he said. Vinchattel said that videographers would be on campus in December for parent testimonials and a day at MA. Inkema is looking to place ads with QR codes leading to a landing page at ACTV Digital Marketing Network, http://home.act4.digital, locations such as doctors' offices. MA will also send automated emails to follow up on school tours and is in discussions on creating student-led TikTok and YouTube Shorts. The launch of the new marketing efforts is slated for late November to early December. PTOs spotlighted. Board President Ryan Graham spotlighted the East and West Campus parent-teacher organizations, PTOs, whose commitment and energy have had a significant impact on school culture. The PTOs create memorable experiences and build stronger connections among families, staff, and students, he said. He recognized Andrea Howard, Christy Davis, Sarah Dorman, Jessica Palucci, Melody Potska, Suzanne Hoffman, Mary Verma, and Katie Campbell. West Campus PTO President Howard thanked the board for inviting them, saying the mission of the PTO is to support teachers, enrich student experience, and strengthen the school community. She noted that the Links on the Run event had achieved 190% of its goal. She thanked the volunteers, event chairs, generous donors, and the supportive and encouraging administration, saying that PTO officers are grateful to be part of the team. Potska said that East Campus PTO officers were unable to attend and noted that the West Campus PTO has been very collaborative. She said it was fun to do homecoming together with West Campus and she was excited for the monthly teacher meals and the upcoming Christmas party. Potska said she was grateful to the board and parents. Policy updates. The board heard a first reading of Policy IJ Selection of Instructional Materials Policy and Procedures, which will be brought back in December for approval. Board member Jalinda Digert explained that the changes clarified the Curriculum Committee's intent to communicate changes or additions to primary curriculum. The policy includes the newly created educational philosophy to be used to evaluate curriculum. Curriculum is approved on a 6-year cycle, and any updates must be reviewed, she said. Director of Academics Tina Leone provided input to help simplify the rubric used to score the curriculum, which should be added as an exhibit to this policy, Digert said. The board unanimously approved the following policy updates, which were reviewed by MA's legal counsel. 1514 AMA Board Code of Conduct was renamed to BCMA with an updated reference to Colorado Revised Statute, more specific language on offenses of misconduct, a new area specifying consequences for failure to disclose misconduct, and additional points of contact. 1514 BMA Board of Directors New Members Election Process was renamed BDMA and modified to make the voting process more specific on which votes count and what to do if there is a violation. Record retention was extended to 3 to 7 years, and the point of contact was updated to the Executive Director. 1522 Donating to Monument Academy was changed to DDFMA with updated language honoring donors' wishes so long as they are legal and fit with MA's direction, or giving the option to withdraw the donation or direct it elsewhere. The policy language was updated as to tax receipts, specifying that donors are responsible for tax information on their end. 1525 State Assessment Refusal Policy was changed to ISAMA, updating the timeline to submit the opt-out form and adding language to counsel parents about a new state law that penalizes MA if a parent opts out after testing has started. 1525 State Assessments Administrative was changed to CSAMA, updating the timeline to publish the assessment calendar and communicate to parents. It was also updated to reflect the title of Executive Director. The board unanimously voted to rescind Policy 1524 Longevity Bonus Pay, noting that the amounts don't make a huge difference, and the administration is looking for other avenues to support teachers and bring in a better approach to retention. Graham noted that the policy hadn't been used in years and affirmed that this decision simply cleaned up the policies and would not have a negative impact on staff. Note: board policies can be found at https://tinyurl.com/ma-policies. Highlights. Board meeting highlights include: Executive Director Vin Chattel reported on the well-attended trunk and treat event put on by the PTO and lauded the boys' cross-country team for its state championship. He also noted the veterans' breakfast and assemblies at both campuses. Upcoming events included Get the Scoop, with ice cream and tours for families new to MA, and Let's Talko About High School, with dinner and presentations to 7th and 8th graders on internships, leadership opportunities, clubs, athletics, and academic programming for college credits such as Advanced Placement, AP, classes. Finance Director Poland reviewed the September financials by school and fund, which showed a loss of $236,246 for the high school but a net income of $98,400 across all schools. She said that MA had a rating call with S&P on November 3 that went well and was awaiting results. The audit went well and had few clarifying journal entries. There have been several design and pricing meetings on the new track and field, and she is working with principals on the mid-year budget, Poland said. Curriculum. Vice President Lindsay Clinton reported that Curriculum East reviewed campus field trips. The big project, she said, was a communication plan in 5 phases over a year to guide teachers toward a full implementation of core knowledge. This relates to Policy IJMA, which was given a first reading. Student Accountability and Advisory Committee, SAAC, West. Clinton said the committee received a presentation on marketing and communications from Kendra Kuhlman and reviewed questions for the mid-year survey to be sent out on December 5 with a deadline of January 5. She noted there would be rewards for classes with more than 50% participation, such as a free dress day. Clinton also noted that MA hosted the November 18 meeting of D38's Parent and Community Advisory Committee, PCAC, at the West Campus. SAAC East. Dygert reported that the committee heard about the hiring process from Director of People Operations Krista Pelly. The committee reviewed a handout on how to make survey questions statistically relevant in anticipation of the upcoming mid-year survey. It also heard from Samantha Caputo on Gifted and Talented, GT, programs and funding, including a comparison with D38's programs. The MA School Board meets at 6:30 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month. The next regular board meeting will be on December 11 at 6:30 p.m. at the East Campus. The agenda and packet are available at tinyurl.com/my-boarddocs. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Lewis Palmer D38 Parent and Community Advisory Committee, November 18, Accreditation Discussion, Post-Election Report. By Harriet Halbig. The Lewis Palmer D38 Parent and Community Advisory Committee, PCAC, met on November 18 at the West Campus of Monument Academy. Monument Academy, MA, Principal Jesse Davis gave a brief introductory presentation on the school. Founded in 1986, it has relocated twice and is currently serving grades pre-K through 5. Monument Academy stresses character development, and each student signs a social contract each year. MA also stresses teaching cursive writing throughout students' tenure. The current student count is 660. The MA School Board is made up of parents. Accreditation Discussion. Dr. Michael Brahm, Assessment and Accountability Coordinator for the district, led a discussion on accreditation, beginning with a true/false quiz addressing participation in state and national assessments. For the past several years, parents could opt out students from participating in the CMAS, Colorado Measures of Academic Success, PSAT, and SAT tests. Brahm said it's difficult to reach individual families to encourage participation. General announcements and notes are not effective, and it is impractical to contact each family individually. By law, the district cannot punish or incentivize participation. Many students simply do not attend the assessments. At the middle school level, Brahm said, families are encouraged to use the official form to opt out. A member of the committee who is a third-grade teacher, the first year in which students participate, said that she makes students feel that it is a privilege to participate and show their maturity. Superintendent Amber Wetstein commented that it would be useful to know whether the community pays attention to accreditation. Committee co-chair Kirsten Zook suggested creating a questionnaire asking why families opt out. Special Education Family Liaison Michelle Ney commented that special education families may not be comfortable sharing their reasons for not participating. CMAS testing covers language arts, math, and science. Science is included only in grades 5, 8, and 11. Brahm said that students have been participating in the assessments at various rates depending on location. The state requires 95% participation, and at some locations the rate is much lower. The quiz addressed the significance of participation by saying that results are more useful as the rate of participation increases, but that funding and the rate of district achievement are not affected. Charter school results are included in the district's overall district performance framework accreditation ratings. The criteria for accreditation with distinction will change in the 2027-28 school year, directed by HB 25-1278. Under the new criteria, D38 would not have earned accreditation with distinction in the past due to a lack of participation. Post-election report. Board of Education Secretary Dr. Patty Schenk reported that it appears that Tim Bennett won the election for District 1, replacing Vice President Chris Norris, who is leaving the area. District 3 was won by Ginger Schaaf, replacing Board President Tiffany Upchurch, who has reached her term limit. Co-chairs Renee Butler and Zook presented Upchurch with a large bouquet to thank her for her participation on the committee and the board. Upchurch said that she would continue to attend committee meetings. Schenck reported that election results would be certified on November 29, at which time the board would meet to elect officers. Board Treasurer Ron Schwartz asked how much time PCAC would like allotted on the board's agenda. Butler said that 30 minutes would be appropriate. A compilation of the results of the previous month's discussion on accreditation was distributed, including comments from committee members on each aspect of the discussion. To view this document, please go to lewisbommer.org, Family Resources, Community, District Committees, and click on Meeting Content. There were a few brief subcommittee reports. The Early Childhood Task Force is discussing the feasibility of full-time preschool. The Special Education Advisory Committee has circulated a survey to parents and discussed progressions from grade to grade and school to school. The Financial Transparency Committee is discussing mill levy overrides and the impact of a decrease in student count of 187. The Lewis Palmer Parent and Community Advisory Committee meets 6 times per year. Locations vary. There will not be a meeting in December. The next meeting will be from 6 to 8 p.m. on January 13 at Palmer Lake Elementary School, 115 Upper Glenway in Palmer Lake. For information, contact tmckee@lewispalmer.org. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. Monument Fire District, November 12, 2026 Budget adopted, Construction Award approved. By Natalie Barsh. At the Tri-Lakes Monument Fire Protection District, TLMFPD, DBA Monument Fire District, MFD, meeting on November 12, the board held a public hearing before adopting the 2026 budget. The board also approved a construction award for the rebuild of Fire Station 3, FS3, and a fire chief recruitment search. The board received several updates on the district's fire station projects. The board held an executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute Section 24-6-402, 4E, to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations. A Donald Westcott Fire Protection District, DWFPD, Volunteer Firefighter Pension Fund, Legacy Plan, Board of Trustees meeting was held before the regular MFD meeting. Vice President John Hildebrand attended via Microsoft Teams. Proposed 2026 budget. Fire Chief Andy Kovacs said no major changes had been made to the 2026 proposed budget presented at the October board meeting. A few additional revenue lines were added as follows. The sale of the existing FS3, Woodmoor Drive, is expected to generate $1.266 million in revenue to purchase a new 2-acre site to rebuild FS3. The loan fund balance for about $14.908 million to construct FS3. Interest revenue received on the investment fund is expected to total $541,000. The district has received $146,000 in interest since approving the fund in August. An additional $100,000 was added to allow a salary for the new fire chief for the last 6 months of 2026. The total administration personnel budget is about $2.150 million, does not include line staff wages. The district expects a total revenue budget of about $24.358 million, about $19 million from property taxes, with no change to the existing mill levy set at 18.40 mills. The operations expense budget was set at about $21.794 million, said Kovacs. MFD Board President Mark Gunderman opened a public hearing on the proposed 2026 budget. Hearing no comments for or against, the hearing was closed. In a roll call vote, the board unanimously approved Resolution 2025-2008 adopting the 2026 budget summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund and appropriating sums of money to the various funds. Other approved items. The board unanimously approved the following resolutions. The 2026 wage schedule includes a 2.5% cost of living allowance increase. The 2026 fee schedule, impact fees remain unchanged for 2026. The 2026 Board of Directors meeting schedule. The 2026 Employee Handbook. Construction Award. The board unanimously approved an award to Flintco LLC for about $11.963 million to construct a new Fire Station 3 on a 2-acre parcel north of the YMCA off Jackson Creek Parkway. Recruitment Award. The board unanimously approved Prothman to conduct an executive recruitment for the position of fire chief for a sum of $19,500 plus any related expenses. At the October meeting, Kovacs announced his plan to retire from the fire service at the end of 2026. The recruitment process is expected to be completed by mid-year. Financial update. Treasurer Tom Kelly said the district is at 83.3% of the total budget year to date as of October 31st, and presented the following. The combined overall revenue received year to date was about $22.337 million, and 92.1% of the 2025 income projected annual revenue is set at about $24.235 million. Overall expenses year to date are about $15 million and 80.1% of the projected expense budget is set at about $18.764 million. The total checking/savings was about $38.561 million with about $13.058 million in the operations/general fund. The balance includes loan proceeds of about $18.146 million in Bank of Oklahoma financing for the Fire Station 3 rebuild. Kelly said the 20 electronic transactions were appropriate and within budget. Of note were $60,448, Flintco LLC, Administrative Office Remodel. $731,794, Lone Star, Tactical Building, Fire Training Center. $151,208, Kaiser Permanente, Health Insurance. $8,883, Wex Bank Incorporated, Fleet Fuel. $4,669, John Kerr, Property Insurance for Admin Building. The board unanimously accepted the financial report as presented. Facilities update. Division Chief of Support Services Jamie Bumgarner said the following. All the documents regarding the Station 1 Training Center have been submitted to the Town of Monument Planning Department. The approval process is anticipated to take about 6 to 8 months to complete. The property agreement for the Fire Station 3 rebuild on a 2-acre lot north of the YMCA is close to being approved. The process is expected to take about 30 to 45 days. The remodel of Fire Station 2 is 100% complete. Crews moved back on November 2nd, and the station is fully operational. Executive session. The board moved into an executive session at about 5:40 p.m., pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute Section 24-6-402(4)(e), to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations. Note: Kovacs confirmed to this reporter that when the board returned to regular session, no action was taken. Volunteer Pension Board of Trustees meeting. The board held a DWFPD Volunteer Firefighter Pension Fund, Legacy Plan, Board of Trustees meeting before the regular MFD meeting. Trustee Mike Badger attended via Microsoft Teams. Badger announced the resignation of Trustee Dennis Feltz, and he introduced Brian Ackerman to fill the vacant trustee seat. Director of Administration Jennifer Martin confirmed Ackerman had taken the oath of office before the meeting. Badger said the actuarial study was received with no additional changes. The pension fund is 107% funded at the current levels. The most recent allocation report as of September 30th showed $958,825.53 in the fund and a gain from January 31st of $31,363.52. Future Volunteer Pension Fund Board of Trustee meetings are scheduled for June 24th and November 11, 2026, at 4 p.m. The trustees meeting adjourned at 4:11 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the fourth Wednesday of every month. The next regular meeting is scheduled for December 3rd at 4:30 p.m. at Station 1, 18650 Highway 105. For Microsoft Teams virtual joining instructions, agendas, minutes, and updates, visit www.monumentfire.org or contact Director of Administration Jennifer Martin at 719-484-9011. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, November 17, rate increases for 2026 discussed. By James Howell. The Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, WWSD, board met in November to hear a presentation from Andrew Ream, a senior manager at Raftelis, the company that advises WWSD about rates and financial modeling. Ream advised the district to continue with a schedule of rate increases proposed in 2024 and characterized the impact of those increases on the district's ratepayers. The board held a public hearing on its proposed 2026 budget and awarded a contract to eliminate a lift station. District staff gave operational reports. Finally, Erin Smith, WWSD's attorney for 26 years, announced her retirement. Rates and tap fees to rise. District Manager Jesse Schaefer said that in previous workshops and discussions, the board had decided to increase the base fee and volumetric rates for water by 7% in 2026, and to increase the fee for sewer service by 5%. Tap fees for water and sewer connections were set to increase by 10% and 3%, respectively. The Renewable Water Infrastructure Fee, RWF, which funds WWSD's purchase of the Woodmoor Ranch and its renewable water rights, would remain unchanged at $40 per month. REAM presented a schedule of further rate increases from 2027 through 2034. In 2027 and 2028, water rates will rise by 5% and sewer rates will rise by 4%. Then, from 2029 through 2034, both rates will rise by 3%. The RWIF will remain unchanged. REAM said his projected rates would be subject to adjustments as needed. According to REAM, for residential customers, the 2026 increases will mean the monthly sewer fee will increase from $37.47 to $39.34 and the monthly water fee from $11.56 to $12.27. For the first 6,000 gallons of water used, the cost of 1,000 gallons will rise from $7.33 to $7.84. The median annual user's bill will rise from $111 to $125. Schaefer pointed out that the increases were largest in the first year of the schedule to avoid major increases in the future, and the increases were planned considering the district's payments for its participation in the Loop Water Reuse project. Schaefer also noted that customers are using less water than they used in 2006 due to more efficient appliances and landscaping choices that are more oriented toward water conservation. 2026 Budget Hearing. Schaefer opened a public hearing on the 2026 proposed budget and briefly reviewed the changes he had made to it in response to the board's input at a workshop. The rate increases proposed by REAM were incorporated into the 2026 budget, and he had reduced the estimated revenue from supplemental water service. Supplemental water service for a new fire station to be built by the Monument Fire Department on Jackson Creek was included, Schaefer said. There were no comments from the public. The budget hearing was left open until the next board meeting on December 15. A public hearing on the proposed rate increases will also be held at that meeting. Construction contract awarded. Richard Hood, of JVA Consulting Engineers Incorporated, recapped the events that led to the decision to eliminate rather than update a lift station on Lost Arrowhead Drive. In January 2025, Hood explained, WWSD had requested bids to update the lift station, but the cost was prohibitive. JVA was able to design a gravity sewer reroute that eliminated the need for the lift station. In October 2026, WWSD requested bids to demolish the lift station. 6 bids were received. Mid-City Corporation submitted the lowest bid at $325,000, but JVA's examination of the bid showed that it was unbalanced and non-responsive because its unit price was significantly lower than past projects. It appeared that upfront costs were too great, and material suppliers were not included as the request for proposal required. JVA recommended the contract be awarded to Native Sun Construction, whose bid was $13,000 more than Mid-City's bid. The board voted unanimously to award the contract to Native Sun, with a $30,000 change order contingency included. Financial and operational reports. In his review of October's finances, Board Treasurer Dana Franson said the district's financial performance was where he expected it to be, with net profit down temporarily due to a higher-than-usual number of contract payments. In his manager's report, Schaefer updated the board on the Loop Water Reuse project, in which WWSD is a participant. Contracts have been signed with CDM Smith to increase the capacity of the Calhoun Reservoir and with Burns and McDonnell to design the water treatment plant and the pumps and pipelines. Discussions are underway with Tallgrass Colorado Municipal Water LLC to finance the project through a public-private partnership. Schaefer said that in 2026 the loop should advance all design work to 60% completion, and if the public-private financing does not come to fruition, then the loop will need to get contractors more involved, perhaps through a construction manager at risk (CMAR) framework, in which the contractor is more involved in the design and is required to provide a guaranteed maximum price. Board President Brian Bush said that in 2026 the loop would need to decide between a public-private partnership or issuing bonds. Office Manager Corey Lynch told the board about the implementation of TextMyGov, a new way to communicate with the district's customers during emergencies by sending alerts via text messages. Customers must opt into the program using a link on the district's webpage, which can be found at https://woodmoorwater.com. Customers with cell phones can text WWSD to 91896 to opt in to the service, Lynch said, and they will be notified by text when there is an interruption to their service. In her engineer's report, District Engineer Sidney Salen said the Monument Ridge East development was moving ahead with plans for 37 single-family residences planned for the eastern boundary of the property, adjacent to Misty Acres. Attorney to retire. Attorney Erin Smith, who has advised and represented the district for 26 years, announced her retirement. She said she was immensely grateful for the honor of serving the WWSD board and its outstanding staff and district management. She said she would provide Bush and Schaefer with a list of potential replacements. She hoped the transition could be complete by mid-February. The next meeting is on December 15 at 1 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the second Monday of each month at 1 p.m. at the district office at 1845 Woodmoor Drive. Please see www.woodmoorwater.com or call 719-488-2525 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Monument Sanitation District, November 19, Draft of 2026 Budget Reviewed. By Jackie Burr Hans and James Howell. The Monument Sanitation District, MSD, Board met in November to review a draft of its 2026 budget. It also voted on a resolution authorizing the El Paso County Treasurer to collect MSD's delinquent accounts. District Manager Mark Parker updated the board on the work that the county has planned for Beacon Light Road. Budget process begins. Parker presented the board with a draft of the district's 2026 budget. He focused on the differences with the previous year's budget, noting, "A change in janitorial companies led to a reduction of a few $100s in that line item to $3,500. Parker used a cost of living adjustment, COLA, of 2.7% to calculate wage increases. Money for merit raises was included." Director Shannon Clark noted that the previous year's budget included 2 rounds of PFAS testing that had been budgeted for but not performed. PFAS chemicals are sometimes referred to as forever chemicals because they break down very slowly. They are associated with many health issues, such as an increased risk of kidney cancer. Parker said the 2026 budget anticipated lower revenue from tap fees due to some building projects being delayed. He said he estimated expenses as high and income as low to avoid amending the proposed budget. Clark noted a decrease in postal costs due to the district's successful implementation of online billing. Parker added that office supplies were reduced by half in the 2026 budget for the same reason. Parker told the board a final version of the budget would be available to vote on at its December meeting. Delinquent accounts go to County Treasurer for collection. The board voted unanimously to approve Resolution 10152025-1, which authorizes the El Paso County Treasurer to collect MSD's delinquent accounts as part of its collection of property taxes. The cost of collection will be added to the amount due. Parker estimated 22 delinquent accounts will be collected. Beacon Light Road work begins. Parker told the board that regular meetings including MSD, El Paso County, engineering firm Kimley Horn, and the town of Monument had begun. GMS Incorporated, MSD's consulting engineers, will also attend the meetings, Parker said, to ensure the changes meet MSD's requirements. Monument Sanitation District meetings are held at 9 a.m. on the third Wednesday of the month in the District Conference Room at 132nd Street, Monument. The next regular meeting is scheduled for December 17. See monumentsanitationdistrict.org. For a district service map, see www.monumentsanitationdistrict.org/district-map. For information, 719-481-4886. Jackie Burr Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Donala Water and Sanitation District, November 20, Water Rights and Exchange Options Reviewed. By James Howell and Jackie Burr Hans. In November, the Donala Water and Sanitation District, DWSD, board heard a presentation on its water rights and exchange options from Kelsey Briggs, a project manager at LRE Water. Acting General Manager Christina Hawker updated the board on changes to the proposed 2026 budget. The board considered a petition for inclusion into the district from the Bill and Vicki Hancock Living Trust and approved a license agreement to grant limited access to the district's Willow Creek Ranch property. The meeting ended with 2 executive sessions, after which no action was taken. Surface water and exchange is key to district's future. Briggs walked the board through a detailed memo she had prepared documenting DWSD's surface water rights and exchange options. An exchange is a mechanism to move water to where it can be used without the use of pumps or pipelines. Exchanges divert water from a river, stream, or other source and then return an equal amount from a different source so that the water rights owned by downstream users remain intact. Briggs discussed an example exchange in which water was diverted from the Fountain Creek Mutual Canal, FCMC, to the Big Johnson Reservoir, and then water was conveyed from the Pueblo Reservoir to the confluence of the FCMC and the Arkansas River, so that users of the Arkansas River downstream from the exchange point would have an equal amount of water available to them after the exchange. Briggs said DWSD currently depends primarily on groundwater pumped from the Denver Basin aquifers but has 3 renewable surface water rights: Laughlin Ditch water rights diverted from Fountain Creek, Willow Creek Ranch water rights diverted from the Arkansas River, and the district's reusable return flows of treated effluent from the Upper Monument Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility, UMCRWWTF. As aquifers deplete, well water will become more expensive, Briggs said, so it is important to move to renewable surface water to control costs in the long term. The Laughlin Ditch water rights were purchased in 2017. The district currently does not have a method to convey, treat, and deliver this water to its customers. The water is leased to the Arkansas Groundwater and Reservoir Association, AGRA. The Willow Creek Ranch water rights were acquired in 2009. This water is currently stored in the Pueblo Reservoir and then treated and conveyed to DWSD customers through a contract with Colorado Springs Utilities. When the Pueblo Reservoir reaches its storage capacity, DWSD's water is the first to be released downstream to keep the reservoir within its limits. The reusable return flows from the UMCRWWTF will be treated and conveyed to DWSD customers by the Loop Water Reuse Project. According to Briggs, DWSD has 4 exchange-to locations from which water can be diverted, Briggs said, which are the Chilkat Ditch Headgate, the Fountain Mutual Ditch, FMD, Headgate, the confluence of Beaver Creek and Monument Creek, a point to be decided between the Tri-Lakes Wastewater Treatment Facility and the UMCRWWTF. The district has 5 exchange-from locations to which water can be directed: the confluence of the Arkansas River and Fountain Creek, Stonewall Springs Reservoir Complex, Big Johnson Reservoir, Spring Creek Augmentation Station on the FMD, Chilkat Augmentation Station. Briggs said the district will need to develop a long-term strategic plan to identify the most efficient ways to combine the exchange-to and exchange-from points to deliver water to its customers. The district's water lawyer, Matt Poznanovic, would need to handle related issues in the water court. Briggs said she could develop a flow model in 6 months that would help the board decide how to use its water rights and exchanges. The board directed her to do so. Proposed 2026 budget. Hawker updated the board on changes she made to the proposed 2026 budget since the board meeting in October. The cost of inspecting the sewer system by video camera was reduced from $296,000 to $99,000 due to a decision to inspect just a third of the system. The cost of participating in the loop was increased from $250,000 to $550,000. Hawker said she increased this line item after receiving the loop's proposed budget for 2026. The amount for the loop includes DWSD's portion of the first option payment for the loop's purchase of the Sundance pipeline from the Cherokee Metropolitan District. Hawker added that she is working with the El Paso Board of County Commissioners to get reimbursement for $400,000 of the cost to redrill well 7D as part of the district's American Recovery Plan Act grant for radium reduction. The board's December meeting has been rescheduled to the 9th so that the board can have a final vote on the budget before December 15th, when the district must submit the final version of the budget to the state. Petition for inclusion. Director Bill George opened a public hearing on a petition from the Bill and Vicki Hancock Living Trust to include a property it owns at 15220 Leather Chaps Drive into the district's water service area. The property is too far from DWSD's sewer collection system to be included for sewer service. George was facilitating the meeting because Board President Wayne Vanderschwer was attending from his home via Zoom. Hawker reviewed the history of the property, which was included in the district's service area in 2022 but was later subdivided. The trust decided it would be cheaper to have a well and septic system and requested exclusion from the district, becoming part of unincorporated El Paso County. The county later decided well and septic systems would not be allowed on properties smaller than 5 acres, prompting the trust to make the petition for inclusion before the board. The board voted unanimously to grant the petition. Willow Creek Ranch License Agreement. At its meeting in October, the board discussed allowing neighbors of its Willow Creek Ranch property near Leadville to have access to the ranch in return for alerting the board to any unauthorized use of the ranch. Staff was directed to draft a license agreement and release that would grant limited access. Director Ken Judd asked Hawker to draft a waiver to allow horse riding on the property. Hawker said she would draft the waiver, and no vote was needed on the license agreement. Executive sessions. Following its regular meeting, the board held 2 executive sessions. Each was a separate item on the agenda and was attended by varying staff and consultants. The first session was to confer with counsel regarding personnel matters. This session was attended by board members only. The second session was to receive legal advice regarding the district's water court application in case number 24 CW 3019. No actions were taken following the executive sessions. The next board meeting is on Tuesday, December 9th at 1:30 p.m. Generally, board meetings are held on the third Thursday of the month at 1:30 p.m. and include online access. Call 719-488-3603 or access www.donalawater.org to receive up-to-date meeting information. The district office is located at 15850 Holbein Drive, Colorado Springs. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Triview Metropolitan District, November 20th, land inclusion approved, legal counsel charges defined. By Natalie Barsh. At the Triview Metropolitan District, TMD, meeting on November 20th, the board approved a petition for inclusion of land into the district from All In Investments LLC and an engagement letter from White Bear Ankiel, WBA, Local Government Law PC to provide a continuance of general counsel legal services to the district. The board heard the Higbee Road project was delayed, and additional well water was being delivered to customers to supplement the district's surface water delivered via the Northern Delivery System, NDS. The board held an executive session to discuss the purchase and sale of water and land, agreements with the Town of Monument, TOM, and other governmental and private entities, the acquisition of right-of-way for Blevins Buckle, the Northern Monument Creek Interceptor, NMCI, project funding timeline and discussions with Donala Water and Sanitation District, DWSD, and the Monument 2040 Plan. Petition for land inclusion. District Manager James McGrady requested the board approve a petition for land inclusion from All In Investments LLC for about 8.07 acres at 16050 Old Denver Road. Water Counsel Chris Cummins said it is unknown what will eventually be developed on the property and the land inclusion will not be presented for board approval until such time. There is no commitment for the district, but the request for a petition for land inclusion allows for a letter of intent to provide water to the west side of Old Denver Road and allows for next step discussions for the district to provide utilities, said Cummins. The board unanimously accepted the petition for land inclusion and continued the discussion in executive session. General Counsel engagement. General Counsel George Rowley of WBA Local Government Law PC said new legislation requires law firms to provide clients with transparency of pricing, the fixed costs. The board was presented with an engagement letter stipulating the legal fees. The board unanimously approved the engagement letter. Higbee Road Project Update. Assistant Manager Steve Sheffield said the Higbee Road project ran into some unforeseen delays due to other utility conflicts with the district's storm drain infrastructure. The delay is significant enough to put the project into mid-March 2026. The district is working with Kiewit to release a new schedule for spring and fall 2026. McGrady said the original plan would have paused in October for the winter months and the new design is expected to be finalized within days. Note, for additional information about the project and updates, visit https://triviewhigbyroad.com. Road sign updates. Parks and Open Space Superintendent Matt Reno said the district installed additional pedestrian crossing warning signs at Triview Drive and speed limit signs on Leather Chaps Drive. The signs are needed to get drivers to slow down, he said. Tap fee update. McGrady said the district budgeted 85 tap fees from residential homes and year-to-date 84 taps have been received, but it is difficult to project the commercial taps fees. Year-to-date the district has received about $4.627 million in tap fee revenue, includes some commercial tap fees. The tap fee revenue is very important to maintain the utility enterprise fund used to expand the distribution and collection system that supplies the district's water. The fund is supporting the Bale Ditch and Arkansas Valley Irrigation Company headgate/diversion construction projects, said McGrady. For more information on the district projects, visit https://triviewmetro.com. Water Operations Update. Water Treatment Superintendent Gary Potter said the NDS produced 39% of the district's water in October, using more wells to lower production costs to meet budget goals, said Potter. McGrady said the district is supplementing the NDS water with pumped well water to ensure the allocated 700 acre-feet of surface water lasts through the remainder of the year. Potter said issues continue with the reading accuracy of the flow measuring equipment at the Upper Monument Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility. Additional meters have been added to help determine the district's daily flow rate. The district produced about 22,745 gallons in the October billing cycle and sold about 21,830 gallons to customers, leaving 807,960 gallons of non-revenue water, unbilled. The following countermeasures took place. Several irrigation meters were found to be severely under-registering water usage and have been replaced. The billing data was analyzed, and anomalies were found that were creating inaccuracies. Leaks in the distribution system have been identified and repaired. Water meter bypasses have been identified and removed. One had been running for a long time in a neighboring HOA east of the district. The district is improving the accuracy of unbilled water usage. Since working for the district, it is the first time the non-revenue water is a six-figure number, but it may never be zero, said Potter. District Administrator Sarah Lamb said the irrigation season has ended for 2025, and the district's irrigation and domestic accounts have been checked for leaks after winter shutoff using the Beacon Data meter reading system, and no leaks were found as of November 13. Executive Session. The board moved into executive session at 7:56 p.m. to receive legal advice pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes, CRS, Section 24-6-402, 4b, as it relates to water matters and agreements with the TOM and other governmental entities, acquisition of right-of-way for Blevins Buckle, NMCI project funding timeline and discussions with DWSD, and the Monument 2040 plan. The board was working to determine positions related to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations, and instructing negotiations as it relates to the previously mentioned subjects, pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-402, 4b. Sheffield confirmed to this reporter that when the board returned to the regular session at 9:04 p.m., a question-slash-answer session took place with McGrady and Cummins regarding the need to hire a consultant to begin the process of building the central reservoir. The board unanimously approved the hiring of Jody Schreiber as a consultant for the Stonewall Springs Central Reservoir project. No further action items were discussed and the meeting adjourned at 9:12 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the third Thursday of the month at the district office located at 16055 Old Forest Point, Suite 302. A public hearing for the proposed 2026 budget will be held at the next regular board meeting scheduled for December 11 at 5:30 p.m. For meeting agendas, minutes, and updates, visit https://triviewmetro.com. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, November 20, 2025 Budget Reviewed, 2026 Budget Adopted. By James Howell. In November, the El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, EPCRLWA, or the Loop, Board reviewed its 2025 budget and held a public hearing on its 2026 budget. Patricia Hutchinson, a civil design engineer with Merrick & Company, who is acting as the Loop's workflow manager and coordinating the work being done by the consulting and engineering companies contributing to the project, gave the board an update. The board heard a financial report from Board President Jesse Schaefer, who stood in for Corbin from, the Loop's accountant. Nicole Paykoff, the Loop's attorney, helped the board address 3 minor issues with procedures, contracts, and agreements. The meeting ended with an executive session. 2025 budget reviewed, 2026 budget adopted. Schaefer told the board that its 2025 budget requires no amendments, so there was no need to consider the resolution to amend it. He opened a public hearing on the proposed 2026 budget. Schaefer said the budget anticipated $4.86 million in revenue, including $2.4 million from the American Recovery Plan Act, ARPA, and contributions paid by the participating water districts, and expenditures totaling $4.9 million, mostly for professional fees. The 2026 budget was based on bringing the loop's design work on water treatment, conveyance, and reservoir expansion to 60% completion. Schaefer said he expected the project to have about $350,000 in the bank at the end of 2026. There were no comments from the public, and Schaefer closed the hearing. The board voted unanimously to approve a resolution authorizing the 2026 budget and appropriating the necessary funds. Merrick update. Hutchinson told the board that CDM Smith, the engineering company that was awarded the contract to expand the Calhoun Reservoir to accommodate the additional water generated by the loop's reuse design, had held a check-in meeting the previous day and expected to have its design completed by February 13, 2026. Hutchinson said Burns and McDonnell projected its design work on the pumps and pipelines would be complete in February. It was currently working on the northern portion of the system, choosing sites, doing title work, and talking to owners. Hutchinson said the design for the advanced water treatment facility, which is also being done by Burns and McDonnell, would have a package for the Loop Board to review on Friday, November 21. A final workshop on the topic was scheduled for December 4. Financial report. Schaefer told the board that invoices totaling $228,000 had been received in October. The invoices were from engineering companies, with Burns and McDonnell being the primary service provider. He noted that after payment of the invoices, the loop would have $57,000 in the bank. The cash crunch resulted from the El Paso Board of County Commissioners, BOCC, taking much longer than expected to reimburse the loop for its expenses from the American Recovery Plan Act funds that the BOCC administers. The board approved payment of the invoices. Legal issues addressed. Pacoff asked the board to approve an annual administrative matters resolution for 2026 that authorizes the board's actions, schedules officers, and ensures statutory compliance. There were no changes from the previous year's resolution, Pacoff said. The board voted unanimously to approve the resolution. Pacoff also presented minor changes to the loop's contract with Merrick & Company and Spencer Fane LLC. These were approved by the board. Executive session. An executive session was held for the board to receive legal advice regarding its negotiations related to financing the project, including a possible public-private partnership proposal. No actions were taken following the executive session. The next regular meeting is scheduled for December 18 at 9 a.m. Regular meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. at the Monument Town Hall at 645 Beacon Light Road. Please see loopwater.org or call 719-488-3603 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. El Paso Board of County Commissioners, Board approves agreement on Highway 105 widening. By Marlene Brown. At the November 4 meeting of the El Paso Board of County Commissioners, BOCC, the board approved a memorandum of agreement and acceptance of temporary construction easement associated with the Highway 105 widening from Lake Woodmoor Drive to Martingale Road. The BOCC said it has the authority to purchase and hold real and personal property from property owned by Douglas A. Williams and Diane E. Williams to be used by the county for road construction, utility construction, drainage, slope maintenance, repair, and ingress and egress on the project. The board determined that approval would best serve the interests of the public. The agreement authorizes payment from the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority, PPTRA, funds of $670. During the November 13 meeting, the board approved a request for a subdivision exemption for a Town of Monument tank site by Interstate 25 Properties Ltd., Siblico Holdco Exchange LLC, and the Town of Monument. The application encompasses 5.87 acres to be divided into one lot and 4 tracts, as well as the dedication of 7,290 square feet of public road right-of-way. The property is Zone C1, Commercial, and is located immediately southeast of the intersection of Beacon Light Road and Bricker Road. BOCC meetings are normally held on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. at the Centennial Hall Auditorium, 200 South Cascade Avenue, Colorado Springs. Meetings are open to the public and can be viewed via live stream at https://clerkcanrecorder.elpaso.com/clerk-to-the-board/meeting-live-stream/. For more information regarding the BOCC, see https://bocc.elpasoco.com. Marlene Brown can be contacted at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Northern El Paso County Coalition of Community Associations, NEPCO, County Commissioners Williams, Wysong featured at meeting. By Marlene Brown. The bi-monthly meeting of the Northern El Paso County Coalition of Community Associations Incorporated, NEPCO, was held on November 15. NEPCO was organized as a nonprofit corporation in June 2000. It was formed by residents of homeowners associations, HOAs, in northern El Paso County as a means to collectively influence growth and development through structured and proactive interaction with county planning officials and land developers. They share information with other HOAs that would be useful to all in managing their associations and address issues within the HOAs that have a bearing on other areas of interest and responsibilities. Mike Aspenson, President, opened the meeting by explaining that NEPCO holds its annual membership meeting every November with board elections. NEPCO has 43 current HOA members, with 19 HOAs represented at the meeting. They did not have a quorum requirement of 22 HOAs, so elections could not be held that day. The board consists of 7 positions with term limits on 5 of those positions. To volunteer or to learn about board member responsibilities and requirements, email info@nepco.org or membership@nepco.org. El Paso County Commissioner Holly Williams, District 1, was present. Her district covers northern El Paso County, Air Force Academy, Woodmoor, Gleneagle, and Black Forest. Williams took the oath of office for her second 4-year term in January 2023. She is in her last year and term limited. She told the audience that NEPCO is a valuable resource for members, county planners, and commissioners. Commissioner Bill Wysong, District 3, was also present at the meeting. His district encompasses the western portion of the county west of I-25. This includes the west side and downtown areas of Colorado Springs, City of Manitou, Town of Green Mountain Falls, Monument, Palmer Lake and unincorporated areas of western El Paso County including Ute Pass. Commissioner Wysong took the oath of office for his first 4-year term in January 2025. Commissioners are responsible for several departments, including roads and transportation, safety and health, property and water, and planning and growth, with a budget of over $500 million. They are continuously looking for members of the community to be involved and work with the county. The Land Development Code update is an opportunity to have input at the county level. NEPCO has a volunteer, Belinda Warren, who is on the County Land Development Code Task Force. For more information, go to elpasocountyldc.com. Citizen Connect, Boards, and Commissions. There are many opportunities to volunteer and work with the county. To learn more and to give back to the community, go to bocc.elpaso.com/volunteer. Sign up for emergency alerts for your whole family regarding evacuation, safety notices, and law enforcement activity. Go to pcalerts.org. More information regarding future projects and services available from the County Commissioners is at https://bocc.elpasoco.com. NEPCO usually meets bi-monthly at the Barn, 1691 Woodmoor Drive, Monument. The next general membership meeting will be on January 10, 10 to noon. For more information about HOA membership to NEPCO, email membership@nepco.org or go to www.nepco.org. Marlene Brown can be contacted at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Woodmoor Improvement Association, November 24, Board approves 2026 budget, here's Holiday Light Contest details. By Jackie Burr-Hans. The Woodmoor Improvement Association, WA, Board met on November 19 to approve its 2026 budget, hear details about its annual holiday lighting contest, and listen to director reports. 2026 budget and dues increase. President Brian Bush presented the 2026 budget for approval, saying that WIA expected $1.241 million in income and expenses of $1.244 million, which would result in a shortfall of $2,890 that would be covered by reserves. He noted that WIA was working to lower insurance costs and is aware that other things in 2026 will likely change the balance of the income and expenses. The budget includes a dues increase of 3% to $308.50 and a 3% cost of living adjustment for administrative staff and Woodmoor Public Safety, WPS. The board unanimously approved the budget. Holiday Lights Contest. Community Outreach Director Rick DePava said the third annual holiday lighting contest would consist of 3 categories. The Clark Griswold category for lights that can be seen from space. The Frosty recognition for best use of holiday characters. The traditional category for standard lighting. WPS will create a list of contenders, and voting will occur before Christmas, with the winners each receiving a $100 credit on their electrical bill by sponsor Mountain View Electric Association, MVA. Highlights. Vice President. Homeowners Association, HOA, Administrator Denise Caliero, speaking for Vice President Peter Billy, said the IT consultant was working through some computer issues, and she expected to have a contract in place by the end of the year. Treasurer, Bush, speaking for Treasurer Pete Giusti, said excluding a one-time easement payment from Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District for Well 7R, WIA would end the year with a surplus, and the board would vote on which reserve fund would hold the money. HOA, Caliero said the next meeting, if held, would be on Wednesday, December 17 due to the holidays. Covenants, Director Jennifer Davis reported 25 covenant items in October resulting in 3 violations, which were resolved through friendly communications. There were 3 unfounded complaints and 14 HOA checks. There were no hearings in October or November, and none scheduled for December. She reminded residents that there is no dumping in common areas. Public Safety, Brad Gleason reported that Tri-Lakes continues to see burglaries, but video indicates that the perpetrators are different than in previous incidents. He encourages residents to keep valuables out of sight and to report incidents in Woodmoor to both Woodmoor Public Safety and the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Architectural Control, Director Ed Miller reported 63 project submissions, including 53 approved administratively and 10 by the Architectural Control Committee. Year-to-date, there have been 437 projects, which is a 16.3% decrease from last year. Projects have been approved at a 98.9% rate. Forestry, Director Jason Hen said that WIA completed 7 forestry and firewise visits, noting that it is a slow time of the year. He reminded residents that no open flames are allowed in Woodmoor, regardless of the season. Common areas. Director Steve Cutler reported that the sprinklers around the barn had been blown out and shut down. The garage roof has been completed, and trash around the garage has been picked up. He said the garage door would be done in the spring. The second prairie dog mitigation was completed on October 22, he said. Cutler reported that 4 new waste stations were installed in the Preserve Common area as an Eagle Scout project by Alex Schaff. The WIA Board of Directors usually meets at 7 p.m. on the 4th Wednesday of each month in the barn at 1691 Woodmoor Drive, Monument. The next meeting, if held, will be on December 17. See www.woodmoor.org to confirm meeting details. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Letters to our community, thank you, Monument Hill Foundation. On behalf of the Palmer Ridge High School, PRHS, Outdoor Learning Lab, I would like to thank the Monument Hill Foundation for their generous donations of a gorilla cart wheelbarrow and organizational bins for the tools and supplies in our shed. These donations have met a very practical need in the Outdoor Learning Lab, allowing students to experience an easier workflow as they participate in volunteer work days and other activities in the lab. We are a fully donor and volunteer-based organization, and as such, a donation means so much to us. Again, all students who have been influenced by or who have volunteered in the Outdoor Learning Lab are very grateful for the donations made by the Monument Hill Foundation. I, along with my fellow students, are very appreciative of your support. Faith Anderson, PRHS student. Letters to our community, 80 is the new 60. 80 is the new 60, I happily maintain. As long as I keep myself healthy and try to stay out of the rain. I predate the baby boomers and was too old for hippie attire. I watched as they did their protests, setting old thinking afire. I happily married my husband and became a dutiful wife. But never accepted the premise that second fiddle would be my life. So after raising our toddlers, I resumed my chosen career. and joined the legions of women who competed with little fear. But once the grandkids came, priorities took a sharp turn. I no longer aspired for promotion and allowed my career to burn. While enjoying our retirement, our grandkids are ready to soar. We've done all we could to support them and now can do little more. So now 80 years are upon me, and I'm proud to have gotten here. It's why I've decided I'm 60 since I've learned age isn't to fear. Betsy Lambert. Between the covers at Covered Treasures Bookstore, consider the gift of reading. By the staff at Covered Treasures. Reading should not be presented to children as a chore, a duty. It should be offered as a gift. Kate DeCamillo. Here are a few of our favorites for you to consider. The Correspondent. By Virginia Evans, Crown Publishing Group, $28. Sybil Van Antwerp has used letters to make sense of the world and her place in it throughout her life. Most mornings she sits down to write letters, to her brother, to her best friend, to the president of the university who will not allow her to audit a class she desperately wants to take, and to one person to whom she writes often, yet never sends the letter. Hamnet. By Maggie O'Farrell, vintage, $19. This is a short, piercing, deeply moving novel about the death of Shakespeare's 11-year-old son Hamnet, a name interchangeable with Hamlet in 15th-century Britain, and the years leading up to the production of his great play. England, 1580, a young Latin tutor, penniless, bullied by a violent father, falls in love with an extraordinary, eccentric young woman, a wild creature who walks her family's estate with a falcon on her shoulder and is known throughout the countryside for her unusual gifts as a healer. Agnes understands plants and potions better than she does people, but once she settles with her husband, William, in Stratford, she becomes a fiercely protective mother and a steadfast force in the life of her young husband, whose gifts as a writer are just beginning to awaken when his beloved young son dies from bubonic plague. Theo of Golden. By Alan Levi, Atria Books, $20. One spring morning, a stranger arrives in the small southern city of Golden. No one knows where he has come from or why. His name is Theo. And he asks a lot of questions. Theo visits the local coffeehouse, where 92 pencil portraits hang on the walls, portraits of the people of Golden done by a local artist. He begins purchasing them, one at a time, and putting them back in the hands of their rightful owners. With each exchange, a story is told, a friendship born, and a life altered. Theo of Golden is a beautifully crafted novel about the power of generosity and the invisible threads of kindness that bind us to one another. 100 Rules for Living to 100, An Optimist's Guide to a Happy Life. By Dick Van Dyke, Grand Central Publishing, $29. Dick Van Dyke danced his way into our hearts with iconic roles in Mary Poppins, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and The Dick Van Dyke Show. Now, as he's about to turn 100 years old, Dick is still dancing and approaching life with the twinkle in his eye that we've come to know and love. In 100 Rules for Living to 100, he reveals his secrets for maintaining your joie de vivre and making the most out of the life you've been given. Why We Love Football, A History in 100 Moments. By Joe Poznansky, Dutton, $30. This is a rousing tale of the 100 greatest moments in football lore. Entertaining, enlightening, heartbreaking, hilarious, and always fascinating, these stories of football moments offer a panoramic look across its history. From hidden gems and classic tales to famous moments told from previously unheard perspectives, this is the football book for even its most ardent fans. Union Square Kids Unabridged Classic Editions. Union Square Kids, $16.99. From Alice's adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, to The Secret Garden and the story of King Arthur and his knights, these small hardcover editions of classic favorites, with beautifully decorated page edges, are an appealing way to introduce young readers to some timeless stories. Steam Train, Dream Train. By Sherry Dusky and Tom Lichtenfeld, Chronicle Kids, $19.99. Out of the midnight darkness comes a mighty train heading to Night Falls Station. The dream train pulls into the station, and one by one, the train cars are loaded. Polar bears pack the reefer car with ice cream, elephants fill the tanker cars with paints, tortoises stock the auto rack with race cars, bouncy kangaroos stuff the hopper car with balls, and are those dinosaurs lending a hand? Sweet, silly dreams and happy smiles before sleep are in store for little ones who love animals, trains, and imaginative adventure. Merry Christmas from the staff at Covered Treasures. And until 2026, happy reading. The staff at Covered Treasures can be reached at books@ocn.me. November library events, new library software coming, December programs, schedule changes. By Harriet Halbig. The Pikes Peak Library District, PPLD, will be upgrading a major system that allows patrons to check out books, reserve titles, browse the catalog, and manage their library experience. There will be service disruptions from November 29th to December 11th while the upgrade takes place. During that time, patrons will not be able to place holds, items cannot be checked back in, they can be returned and will be held until December 11th. The online catalog and PPLD app will be unavailable, and new library cards cannot be created. All PPLD locations will be closed December 10th and 11th to test the new system and check items back in. There will not be a disruption to online databases, the Libby and Hoopla apps, and Pikes Peak Culture Pass. Patrons will be able to request interlibrary loans and can check out materials with their library card or account number. Staff will not be able to look up this information. Following the transition, patrons will enjoy new features in the online catalog. Book listings will be grouped by format: book, audiobook, large print. Clickable author biographies will be available. Titles will provide grade-level information and make suggestions for other materials. The catalog will be able to offer possible results if the information entered is misspelled and make suggestions for similar materials. Patrons will have the option of having the system save their checkout history. For up-to-date, detailed information on the transition, please see the district website, ppld.org. Although the meeting room will be unavailable December 1st to 11th, some programs will be offered. December programs. Pause to read on Tuesdays from 4 to 5, except for December 23rd, allows children to practice reading aloud and improve fluency by reading with our lovable volunteer Pause to Read therapy dogs. The German Conversation Group, an adult group of intermediate or advanced German speakers, will meet on Mondays from 1:30 to 3:30, except for December 1st and 8th. Socrates Café, a discussion group for adults, will meet from 1 to 3 on Tuesday, December 16th, December 23rd, and December 30th. Story Time, for children ages 3 to 7 and their parents or caregivers, will meet from 10:30 to 11 on Tuesday, December 16th. Toddler Time, for children ages 1 to 2, will meet on Wednesday, December 17th from 9:30 to 10 and 10:30 to 11. Space is limited. An adult program, Cocoa Blend Workshop, will be offered from 11 to noon on Saturday, December 13th. Learn about and experiment with different types of cocoa and other ingredients to create personalized cocoa blends. Take your custom blends home to enjoy yourself or create a special gift for a friend. Registration is required at 719-488-2370. The third Friday Friends of PPLD Book Group will meet on Friday, December 19th, from 10:30 to 12:30. This group is sponsored by the Tri-Lakes Friends of the Library. The December selection is The Women with Silver Wings by Catherine Sharp Land-Deck. An Idea Lab program for ages 5 to 12 is Andy Warhol's Tray Prints from 4:30 to 5:15 on Friday, December 19th. Join us for an exciting workshop where you'll create your own pop art masterpiece inspired by Andy Warhol's iconic screen prints. Learn simple printmaking techniques and unleash your creativity. The Teen Dungeons & Dragons group for ages 13 to 18 will meet from 4 to 5:45 on Saturday, December 20th. Join your fellow teens on an adventure in the world's greatest role-playing game. New players and veterans alike are welcome to participate. Space is limited to 8 players, and registration is required at 719-488-2370. Holiday schedule changes. All Pikes Peak Library facilities will be closed all day December 24th and December 25th. Libraries will close at 4 p.m. on December 31st and remain closed on January 1st. Happy holidays from your library. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. High altitude nature and gardens, festive stuff, winter beauty outdoors, indoors, and holiday acorn bread. By Janet Sellers. From our winter outdoor scenes of berries, pine cones, and acorns to indoor blooming plant friends, nature shares her healing creations with us all season. Our abundant pine and fir trees generously share their much-needed green, and with snow and pine cones on the branches, give us our dreamy views all winter, and crabapple trees offer tiny red apples. But indoor flowers are mood magical in winter, too. Pet and kid-friendly indoor flowers. Some safe flowers that bloom in December include the usual favorites. Our local stores sell Christmas cactus, butterfly orchids, phalaenopsis, and more during the holiday season. Some other favorites are African violet, goldfish plant, Ixora coccinea, flame of the woods, lipstick plant, shamrock, Indian mallow, and poinsettias. Dangerous beauties. For cats, even a small amount of pollen, a single leaf, or vase water can be fatal. It's really important to check out the safe plants when we have kids and pets around. The beautiful but deadly group, amaryllis, anthurium, cyclamen, calla lily, kalanchoe, narcissus, and primrose. Almost all other bulb plants and all true lilies are favorites, too, but their pollen and the plants are deadly if our pets brush up against or ingest any of it. Above, poinsettias, left, butterfly orchids, and Christmas cacti, right, are among the favorites for safe flowering plants used for holiday decor around kids and pets. These colorful beauties also last many weeks, often many months, and as tropical perennials, they provide eye-catching interest year after year with proper care. Photos by Janet Sellers. Acorn bread worldwide. Waiwish, also known as shawi, acorn mush, was one of the main food staples of the indigenous peoples of California. Acorn bread is a global historical food that has been made for centuries, used before the introduction of grains, and as a famine food in Europe or as a staple in Native American diets. Acorns were a fallback food during times of scarcity, such as wars or bad harvests. Ancient writers like Pliny the Elder documented its use in making bread. The Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, had a long tradition of using acorns, as did the ancient Greeks, Japanese, and Koreans. In parts of Italy and other regions, acorn bread was a traditional food that is now rare but remembered in local folklore. Holiday acorn bread. Variations of traditional acorn bread recipes incorporate seasonal ingredients, like spices, or are baked during the fall and winter holidays when acorns are in season. Acorn bread is a nutritious, nutty bread, traditionally a staple food for many cultures since ancient times. As a kid, I read about acorn foods in our 4th grade Native American studies. I tried to make that bread with ground acorns. They tasted terrible. I didn't know the acorn secret, and I didn't end up eating any of that, either. Recently, I found many intriguing recipes online with foods from acorns. Note to self, collect acorns earlier in the year for making acorn bread, a healthy, tasty, and hearty, albeit odd, bread during the holiday season. The correct preparation involves grinding acorns into flour after removing the bitter tannins through a water soak/leaching process of the shelled acorns, then they're dried and ground. Some cooks mix this with other flours for bread or porridge. This practice dates back to antiquity, with examples of its use by ancient Greeks, Japanese, and indigenous peoples in various parts of the world. Janet Sellers is an avid, lazy gardener, letting Mother Nature lead the way for easy gardening in the Tri-Lakes high-altitude nature and gardening climate. Send tips to Janet Sellers at ocn.me. Art matters, art curation, we all do it, even with holiday trees and gift wrapping. By Janet Sellers. Everyone discusses my art and pretends to understand, as if it were necessary to understand, when it is simply necessary to love. Claude Monet. How do we choose what we look at, live with, or give as gifts? That process, what feels right, meaningful, beautiful, or joyful, is a form of curation. Whether we're arranging a holiday tree, selecting a painting for our wall, or wrapping a thoughtful present, we are choosing, organizing, and presenting with intention. That is curation. Art curation is more than display, it is storytelling through materials and making experiences. It is a thoughtful arrangement that shapes how we feel about our surroundings and how others experience them. A curated space isn't just decorated, it is expressive, layered, and emotionally resonant. Art is communication, from maker to viewer and human to human. Every artistic choice, color, shape, texture, word, or sound, carries meaning. A painter choosing between magenta and warm red isn't just making a visual decision, they are shaping a mood. A poet, a sculptor, a musician does the same, conveying feeling, memory, and connection through deliberate choices. When we choose art to give, or to live with, we participate in that dialogue. Art changes a room. A space with art feels alive, personal, and engaging, rich with mood, warmth, and identity. It invites reflection, fosters connection, and adds soul to the everyday. A room without art can feel empty or overly neutral, calm perhaps, but lacking presence or character. Art doesn't just decorate, it elevates. It can bring meaning, emotion, and even joy. Just as museums design spaces to frame the artwork, we arrange our homes or workplaces in ways that allow our expression to shine. The room is the setting, art is the gem. The purpose of the environment is to support and enhance what we value. A thoughtfully chosen painting, sculpture, textile, or handcrafted object becomes the focal point, the treasure, around which the ambience is shaped. We curate for comfort, celebration, memory, and belonging. Gift-giving, especially during the holidays, is a deeply human form of curation. We select what expresses our care, something beautiful, meaningful, or handmade. The wrapping, the presentation, even where we place the gift to be discovered, all are part of aesthetic intention. When we do this, we elevate a simple object into an experience. Art helps create the spirit of a place. It shapes how we feel when we enter, how we remember it, and how we connect with others in it. Whether in a gallery, a living room, or a workspace, art invites feeling, reflection, and often, a sense of well-being. We may not call ourselves curators, but in the choices we make, the colors we live with, the gifts we give, the stories we share, we are shaping beauty, meaning, and culture for ourselves and share that with others. Janet Sellers is an artist, art specialist, and public speaker who shares her imaginative approach to art locally and globally. Contact her at janetsellers@ocn.me. Our Community Notices. By Janet Sellers. Although we strive for accuracy in these listings, dates or times are often changed after publication. Please double-check the time and place of any event you wish to attend by calling the information number for that event. Please notify us if your event listing needs to be updated. Be alert for bike riders and pedestrian. The end of daylight savings time and earlier dusk hours are a historically dangerous period for pedestrians. Pedestrian Safety Month is approaching, and CDOT is launching a campaign to remind Coloradans how they can protect our most vulnerable road users. Pedestrian fatalities in Colorado have increased 88%, but in El Paso County they have increased 167%. MVEA customers, switch to paperless and save. Go paperless through Smart Hub or bank account autopay, and save up to $1 per month. Smart Hub makes it easy to manage your account and monitor your electric use, anytime and anywhere. Bonus, all participating switch and save accounts are automatically entered into a quarterly drawing for a $300 account credit. Learn more at www.mvea.coop/payment-options. See ad on page 10. YMCA Winter Youth Basketball. Ages 3 to 18. Early registration through December 14th. Registration cutoff December 21st. Save $15 during early registration. Info at https://ppymca.org/sports. Practices begin the week of January 5th. Season, 6 games January 17th to February 21st. See ad on page 6. School bus safety. Drivers who pass a stopped school bus with its stop arm extended and flashing lights constitute a dangerous and life-threatening violation of traffic laws. In Colorado, you must stop for a school bus with flashing red lights and an extended stop arm, stopping at least 20 feet away, unless you are on the opposite side of a highway divided by a physical, raised, or depressed median, b, on a two-lane road or one where painted lines, but no physical barrier, separate lanes, you must still stop, c, after stopping, you must remain stopped until the bus's lights stop flashing and it begins to move again. Colorado school buses are increasingly being equipped with automated stop arm cameras to record and catch drivers who illegally pass a stopped school bus. Recent legislation allows for the installation and use of these systems by school districts. Academy School District 20 in Colorado uses school bus cameras, including the stop arm camera system and interior cameras, to enhance student safety and to document drivers who pass a stopped school bus with flashing lights and an extended stop arm. Car seat update. Parents can visit carsetscolorado.com to locate a nearby car seat inspection station, register their car seat and learn how to properly install their car seat or booster seat. If you can't afford a car seat for your child, run, We Cycle, Children's Hospital Colorado, and Safe Kids Colorado Springs have programs through which families can get a free or low-cost car seat. Visit their websites for more information. Be Bear Smart, do your part. Secure trash in a garage, shed or other secure structure. Trash bins should only be outside of the secure structure on trash collection days from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. The majority of homes will already meet this requirement with standard practices. For those who cannot store their trash in a secured structure, they will need to obtain a bear-resistant trash can. Certified bear-resistant waste containers can be provided by your trash collection company, or you can purchase bear-resistant devices such as locks, ratchet straps, and more, including bear-resistant trash cans that also deter other animals like raccoons and dogs. Here is a link from Alaska Department of Wildlife video to attach a ratchet strap. https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=m northwest KL7T5Y. Trash can ratchet locks are available for as little as $20. When thunder roars, go indoors. Lightning can strike even out of a blue sky. Always keep in mind that if you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. Seek shelter immediately in a sturdy building or, if a building is not available, a hard-topped vehicle with the windows rolled up. When indoors, refrain from using corded appliances or other equipment or facilities that put you in contact with electrical systems or plumbing. Stay inside until the storms have moved away and thunder is no longer audible. This is very important, since lightning can and occasionally does strike well away from the thunderstorm itself. Stay alert with weather reports, and curtail your outdoor activities during that time, or ensure that you have constant access to a sturdy, fully enclosed shelter, such as a home or business. Tools for parents and teachers, https://www.weather.gov/safety/lightning-teachers. School Lunches Program. For the first semester of 2025 to 26 school year, the Lewis Palmer School District will provide no-cost meals for all elementary students. However, it is still important for households to provide their income information when requested. Gathering this information allows Lewis Palmer School District 38 to receive the state and federal funding for which it qualifies. These funds go directly to schools to help cover the cost of meals and support after-school activities and other nutritional programs for students. El Paso County Trailability Program. Terrain hoppers in the nature centers at Fountain Creek and Bear Creek areas are off-road mobility vehicles that allow members of the El Paso County community and visiting guests with disabilities to experience trails previously inaccessible to them. Hike 1 to 3 miles through foothills and wetlands habitats with your friends, family, and a nature center staff or volunteer, May through October. Reservations required, participation is free. https://communityservices.elpasoco.com/trailability/. For more information on the Trailability Program, please contact Teresa Odello at 719-520-6981 or by email at theirseodello@elpasoco.com. Parents Helping Parents. NAMI Parent and Caregiver Support Group is a no-cost, peer support program for parents, caregivers, and other family who provide care and support for youth, ages 19 and younger, who are struggling with mental health issues including depression, anxiety, school or peer pressure, substances and more. Facilitated by trained volunteers who have been in your shoes. Meeting is second Monday of each month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. via Zoom. Register online at namicoloradosprings.org. For more information, call the office at 719-473-8477 or email info@namicos.org. Tri-Lakes Cares needs your support. Tri-Lakes Cares is the only food pantry and human services organization serving northern El Paso County through emergency relief and self-sufficiency programs. The community-based, volunteer-supported center is a critical resource for our neighbors in need. The best way to help support Tri-Lakes Cares is to donate. Visit https://tri-lakescars.org/donate to learn how to donate money, medical items, personal supplies, or food. Please check the web for current needs in our food pantry at https://tri-lakescars.org/donate/current-needs. Donation drop-off hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information about Tri-Lakes Cares or how you can help, contact Tri-Lakes Cares at 719-481-4864 or info@tri-lakescares.org. Black Forest Log School needs your help. Please help preserve the historic school for another 103 years. New exterior damage was discovered. It has exceeded the budget renovation funds. Friends of the Black Forest Log School, a 501c3 corporation, appreciates your donation. Please send a check or bring cash to Black Forest Community Foundation, 6770 Shoup Road, Black Forest, Colorado 90808. www.beeflogschool.com. Thank you for joining us for the audio versions of the articles and columns from this issue of OCN. To dive into the full articles and columns or explore more content, visit ocn.me. Don't miss out, sign up for our community newsletter to stay updated with every new post.